and Muse Daters. I am super excited to be here today. Kate, thank you so much for being here with us today to explore and share your writing journey.
Well, you're welcome. I'm appreciating you having me.
I've known you for a while. I know how awesome you are. Let's fill in the people who are watching and listening. Tell us a little bit about who you are as a writer and what it is that you're writing.
Well, I'm Kate Godfrey. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. I write, I could say, speculative fiction, urban fantasy sorts of things, always with a little bit of a twist.
And what inspired you to write in this genre?
I like to read it. I think it's fun, and I wanted to write fun books. Actually, I like to read fun books. Life is heavy enough with the news and the world and all of that. I want something that I can enjoy writing and that readers can lose themselves in without leaving the book feeling like a weight is on their shoulders. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, I like to make people feel happy with what I'm doing.
I love that. It's really beautiful. And certainly your book does that. And I'm really excited for it to be out in the world. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, you and I met a while back. And at that point, you weren't there, right? You didn't have your book where you wanted it to be. Tell us a little bit about where you were at that point when we met.
Well, I knew I had a good start to the book. I had a full draft. I had done a few revisions on my own. I had to structure right, act 1, act 2, rising action, falling action, and then the end. So I had the basic structure down to it, but I knew it just wasn't strong. I just didn't know how it wasn't strong. Areas were good, and then there were definitely areas that weren't good, but I couldn't tell which ones those were.
Awesome. And, what I love about that is really having that clarity to know, I sense that some of this is working and some of it isn't. For you, how does it feel when you look at your own manuscript, back in the day, and you weren't sure, gosh, what's working, what isn't? What was that feeling for you?
Well, it's frustrating. And I tend to overlook things, because the way it is in my brain is not necessarily the way it comes out on the page. Mm-hmm. So, I knew I wasn't there, but again, I couldn't figure out how. So that was very frustrating.
Yeah. And so that's about where you were when we met. We talked a little bit about your frustration. We talked a lot about your manuscript, and I invited you into the writing gym, and you and I worked together for some time on that revision. Now, I'm going to let you snitch on me a little bit. So feel free for all here. People often wonder, what does that look like? It's just coming in with a red pen and saying like, no, don't do that. But tell us what it really looks like. What is the revision process in the writing gym?
I was really pumped to get into the revision process because there's a lot of prep that comes down to that and a lot of education before that, in order to get to the point where I could see what needed to be revised. You were very honest about finding places that needed to be worked on, and we worked on them until it was done. I never felt hurried. I never felt like I wasn't getting great coaching and mentoring. Probably went over the first chapter 3 or 4 times to get it right. And it is the most important chapter. That's what an agent's going to read. That's what an editor's going to read. And that's what a reader is going to read. And if they don't like it, they're going to put it down. It'll go back on the shelf for the slush pile or the trash or delete, and nobody will ever see it. So it needed to be strong, and you were very gentle. You'd have little marks around a paragraph, and you'd say, well, let's talk about this and where this could go better. So it was very positive feedback that I got from you. And we had a lot of great discussion during the coaching periods where you were teaching me how to figure it out on my own. So, and as time went on, moving on to other chapters, and other chapters, first I would work on them myself, and then you would review them, and then we would talk about them. And the further we got along in the book, the more you're like, okay, this is great. Let's fix this little part. This is good. Let's fix this little part. It's always so exciting to get that. You hit it out of the park this week. But it was also really important to say, oh, we got to pause here and work on this section to get it strong.
I love the joy and the revision that I'm hearing from you. That's really great. And one of the distinctions that I really appreciate in what you said was around the process, that we weren't just looking at this singular novel. Certainly we were doing that. We were really looking at getting you the skills that would take you into the next book and the next book and the next book. Talk a little bit about that. And, how do we do that we can get you some tools in your toolbox while we're working on the one book?
Well, I mentioned that we start with a bunch of education. So those are, parts of the novel. Here's this information about this. Here's this information about goal setting. And we actually had some goal setting all the way through with a coach. And that was very important to keep me going. But I think the most important thing was that education that kept on going back to the modules that you had already sent me to. So it was very circular. I learned the information and then you were using that same information. So it's practical to work with me. So it was always this, okay, oh yes, I saw that in the module and here's how we apply it again, so that I would learn it, not just, skim through it and not really get the material.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I say in a lot of these Facebook Live videos is that knowledge is a superpower. But the application, or knowledge is power, but the application of that knowledge is a superpower, right? And so I think that that's what you're speaking to, is not to just say like all dialogue should be compelling and engaging and it should sound like actual people talking. Well, yeah, that's great. But like, how do I apply that to my novel? I think that's what you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how to make it real and live and still be able to, apply what I've learned in the future. This one section with 4 lines of dialogue, for example, is important, but it's not important as me learning the skill to make that appropriate to the scene and the story and the voice and the tone of my characters and my book. Yeah. And the next book and the next book.
Well, and talk about that a little bit. What are the revision tools that you have in your toolbox now that weren't there when we started this process? What did you learn about yourself as a writer, about the writing process that you get to take with you forever and ever?
One thing I learned is it's okay to change my work. Not to be afraid that I'm going to lose something just because I really liked that sentence or I really liked that paragraph. Whether I like it or not doesn't mean it works. And I was able to really approach that fearlessly with all the support that I was getting in the writing gym. That might be the most important thing, the willingness to change. And I would get paralyzed because I didn't know what to change. I could see, like I said earlier, I could see there were problems. I could see it wasn't strong, but I couldn't really figure out where the weakness was. So we went over everything in the modules: tone, voice, sentence structure, paragraph structure, chapter structure, really the entire book, how it was going to go. Those were great lessons and those are going to stick with me.
That's great. And, one of the things that you said was about the support, that you could approach the work fearlessly because you had the support to help you get there. Because some people might listen to what you're saying, like, yeah, Kate, we get it. Like, kill your darlings. Stephen King told us that 2 decades ago. We get it, but we don't get it, do we? Like, it's not always that easy. It's not always that straightforward. How did the support help you to get over that hump?
Well, if you don't know the writing gym, it's a bunch of people going through the same or similar processes. We're all there to become better writers and to become authors, meaning sold. And so everybody's in that same place of learning, of struggling. And there was a lot of sharing about that. And through that sharing, everybody gets to know each other and, hey, I've had that before. Here's what I did. Or, oh man, that's horrible. And let me know what I can do. It's a very close community. And, I always know that somebody is going to be positive and supportive if I'm having trouble with that entire group.
I would imagine that, the supportive, nurturing, positive environment is certainly helpful. But I would suppose that there's something to be said for being with people who are also as serious about the end result as you are. I mean, everyone's writing and they're writing to be their best writer, and they're writing to be sold, as you said, to be a traditionally published author multiple times over and build out their career. How is that common purpose helpful within the context of the community?
Well, what you mentioned about everybody being serious is, I think, the big key. And nobody's on vacation to do this program. Nobody is sliding by. Nobody is ignoring what they need to do. Everybody is really committed. And that's a lot of power to a program and a community where everybody has this guiding principle of becoming better.
Yeah. And as you say that, I'm thinking about some accountability, when I'm in groups like that, if that writer and that writer and that writer are all going to show up next week with the thing that they said they were going to show up with, no matter how stuck I am, by gosh, I better work through it and come up with something to present next week, to talk about next week. Is that resonating with you at all? Is that kind of the experience in terms of accountability?
Well, yeah, accountability is very important. And I felt a little bit like, not that I was letting others down. If I had a down week, everybody has a down week, life happens along the way. But more that sharing brought out celebrations that I did have, even if I felt like I hadn't done anything or hadn't done enough or hadn't reached all of my goals. The coaching helped me look at myself from a different perspective. And yes, there were challenges, but also there were also celebrations. Always there were celebrations, things that were going right, things that I had learned. And the coaching sessions, the group coaching sessions helped me realize that. And then when I would share that on the public group or with somebody else more privately, that's powerful. But it's not bragging to share when you're doing well, because it inspires other people also that they know they can do it. Yeah,
I love that. And, you had so many wonderful celebrations along the way, so many milestones, some of them big, some of them small milestones, all getting you to where you are now. Do you have a favorite celebration or a favorite aha moment along the way that was like a really meaningful celebration for you?
I did this a few times, but there were a few weeks where the celebration was about my struggle, not I overcame the struggle, but I'm really having a hard time with this. In that I was able to be honest about that and recognize what it was I was having a problem with, and know that with the group and the accountability and being able to talk to you every week, I knew I was going to get past it. So even though things were not going right at times, and I was about to pull my hair out at the middle of the book, I knew we were going to get it done and it was going to be good. So that's kind of the thing where it's like, everything sucks right now, but there's that pot of gold.
I'm so in awe of this celebration right now, Kate. And I just want to take a moment to talk about how powerful that is, to build up your muscles so that you're strong enough to say, I can celebrate in the struggle because I know that there's something good on the other side, because I know that the struggle is part of the process. That is huge. You're amazing. What an amazing celebration. I love that. Okay, so fast forward us to the present. You've gone through the revision. We've put together all of your querying materials. What kinds of things are happening with this revised manuscript now that it's heading out into the world?
Well, you were kind enough to pitch it for me to an agent friend of yours, and she did actually want the manuscript and read it. And, I guess she liked it, but it wasn't quite for her. And that makes good sense for her to pass because, everybody's got a niche. Just like I love mysteries, I could not write one to save my life. Same thing with, I would imagine a good agent, I like this book, but I don't think I could sell it. So I've been doing regular querying, and I feel like my materials are very strong. We went over my pitch, we went over the synopsis, we went over the query with a fine-tooth comb, and I have a lot of confidence in those.
Yes, and if I remember right, sorry to interrupt you, but when we put together your elevator pitch, I think, tell me if my memory is wrong, but I had sent it to one of my agent friends via text as soon as we finished it. And I said, hey, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I need to see this manuscript immediately. It was that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the pitch we worked on. So really happy with that. I've had another agency who I made it to kind of their second round of interest with my materials, which, they let me know in a personal note was not very common. And they also didn't feel like it was right for them to sell. But oh my gosh, what a wonderful thing to hear that the material that I feel is good. It's good enough to get agent attention, even if the match is not quite there yet. And 2, enough to excite somebody to take a second look. So that really, my confidence went bling with that. And sure, I've gotten rejections, and a lot of the querying that I've done is still out waiting because, a lot of agents are swamped and it takes them a while to get to all their queries. And that's okay. It really is okay. The more research I do, the more I realize that I'm honing in on somebody who's going to be right.
Yeah. And what I love about that, Kate, is the recognition of the recognition, right? And you've been in the writing gym long enough to watch people before you be where you are for the people who are coming up behind you right now, right? Like they're getting the interest, they're getting the requests, they're getting the attention. Now it hasn't happened for them yet, but I think I'm getting into your brain a little bit. So tell me if I'm trespassing, but I think that that's like an indicator of like, it's coming. It's coming. I've seen other people have this happen where it's like, send me some pages, send me a full, and then boom. If you're Stephen Oliver, you've got 2 publishing contracts in the same 30 days. And if you're Jeannie Covert, then you've got an agent and a screenplay deal in the same month. Like you've seen these people go ahead of you, and there must be some anticipation watching that kind of thing happen now that it's happening to you.
Oh, absolutely. I have to say this is another part of the process that I'm enjoying. And a lot of that is getting to know the authors through their written words that they have. They'll all have a description, but you can find wonderful things. You can find interviews on YouTube or other websites. You can find all sorts of materials to get to know these individuals who are looking at your work. And that's cool, actually. I'm nosy because I'm an author. I want to know what everybody is thinking and who everybody is. And it's kind of neat to do that and look at that and say, this is somebody I could work with. It's like talking to somebody at a cocktail party. I'm going to introduce myself through a query to them because I feel connected through this material. So it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
This is my job right now. This is my work. And it's good work.
I love that. And I love how, we talked already about what it's like to be with people who are serious about the craft, serious about publishing, serious about building out that author career. But you're talking about the other side of that coin that's so important to the work that we do in the writing gym, which is the fun, the laughter, the enjoyment, and the joy that we have in what we do so that we can celebrate even our rejections. We can celebrate even when it's not working, and we can be happy about that and joyful and actually even have fun. How crazy are we?
We're a little crazy. Maybe a lot. I don't know.
Well, I love that, Kate. And so the next steps for you, continuing querying, getting that agent, getting the publishing deal, and moving on to book 2. I'm so proud of you, the revision work that you've done, your dedication to doing it, to working through the hard stuff. There were times when we were visiting a chapter again for a 3rd, maybe even a 4th time, it's not like, oh, that chapter again. But you stuck with it, and that stick-to-itiveness, it really served you well. You're so well positioned at this point to not only publish, but to publish well. And we'll be celebrating that when it happens. For people who are listening to this and they're thinking, I don't know about that writing gym thing. I don't know about this crazy Annalisa person who, makes writing fun, even if it's drudgery. What's your advice to those kind of people in terms of checking out the writing gym, seeing if it's right for them?
Well, I would say make an appointment to talk to you. Annalisa, because it's a very personal conversation. But one of the lovely things is the Annalisa that we see is the Annalisa that you work with. So, the person that I'm talking to right now, that's who you get. You're coaching with somebody who's positive and asks great questions that make you think. So having that first conversation doesn't cost you anything but time, but you get a chance to have this engagement with somebody who knows what they're doing. So yeah, jump into that.
Thank you. That was lovely. I like hearing that what you see is what you get. I try to be that person every day, all day, even when I have to show up in my super cozy jacket because I'm freezing. Well, Kate, again, just so proud of your progress. So grateful to have you in our community. I love your humor, your dedication, and I love your book. And I can't wait until I have my copy. It's out in the world and other people are falling in love with it as much as I'm in love with your book.
Thank you. I make a space for it on the shelf when I go to the bookstore.
I feel positive. It's a done deal. That book is out in the world. Kate Godfrey on the title. Love it. All right, Kate. Well, we can say it together if you want, but until next time, happy writing.
Happy writing.